This box right here represents the yearly federal budget. We're going to divide it up into two parts, the part paid for by tax dollars and the part paid for by everything else. For the purposes of this video, we'll say about 2/3 of the budget is paid for by tax dollars, but you should know that this year, 2009, taxes account for much less. Now we're going to divide this up even further and look at just the portion paid for by using money outside of taxes. On the left, we'll put the part paid by privately purchased treasury bonds. This will contribute to the infamous national debt, which is currently approaching about $11.7 trillion. The other part is paid for by printing money. This is done by an institution known as the Federal Reserve, aka the Fed. The Federal Reserve is not officially a part of the government. Theoretically, the reason for this is to make sure that government cannot print money directly to pay its own bills. The Fed is supposed to act independently and not print money unless it is in the interest of the economy. In spite of this, the Federal Reserve tends to print all the money the government asks for, regardless of the effect it may have on the economy. Whenever a government or central bank prints money, it causes inflation. Inflation is a classic double-edged sword. By making the currency worth less, people who owe money in that currency owe less. This includes, in this case, the U.S. government. Many short-sighted economists see this as a godsend to quell the over-expanding national debt. However, there are many downsides to inflation as well. Stocks and property tend to rise in price along with everything else. Therefore, people who have their savings in stocks or hard assets aren't as affected by inflation. However, the less wealthy the individual, the more they deal in cash. It is in this way that inflation affects the poor more than the rich. In addition, by helping debtors, you are by definition hurting lenders. This includes those who own treasury bonds. Generally speaking, these lenders are not in the business of losing money. Some lenders will therefore choose to put their money elsewhere. In order to try and entice the lenders into coming back, interest rates on the loans will have to increase. The problem with both of these outcomes is that they lead directly to more inflation. This type of thing has happened in numerous other countries in the past. It happened to Germany after World War I and is happening now to Zimbabwe. As this is happening, the budget will be growing exponentially as the interest payments on the national debt balloon. This will compound the problem. This cycle of printing and lending will continue until the Treasury is no longer able to find any lenders to buy the bonds at all. At that point, inflation will get out of control. This is what is known as hyperinflation. This is where the economy really starts to suffer. People will start losing their jobs or quitting because their paychecks aren't worth the paper they're printed on. That, combined with higher prices, will lead to people saving less and spending more. Taking money out of savings increases the money in circulation. This will further contribute to inflation. More unemployment leads to less revenue. With the budget remaining the same or even growing, this leads to even more inflation. Eventually, people will lose faith in the dollar and stop using it. This is what is known as a currency collapse. The question is, where is the United States in this cycle? The answer is actually quite complicated. As you can see from the graph of the money supply, over the past 40 years we have done everything we could to destroy our currency. Even still, our GDP is so strong, the world still sees our treasury bonds as a good investment. It's only been recently, with the Fed printing more money than it ever has before, that the world started to grow wary of our position. This is the reason people like Ron Paul, Jim Rogers, and Peter Schiff all come out strongly against our current monetary policy. And you probably should as well. This video brought to you by LateWire.com.